Have you ever wondered why certain things keep repeating in your life? Why the same types of people show up in your relationship? Why opportunities seem to slip through your fingers at the last moment? Why, no matter how hard you try, the same obstacles keep appearing? The answer goes against everything you've been taught about luck, fate, or deservingness. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you are. Every thought, every emotion, every belief acts like an invisible transmitter, emitting frequencies that reorganize the reality around you. The universe doesn't listen to your words or your conscious intentions. It responds to your energetic vibration, to what you're constantly emitting, often without even realizing it. Millions of people are trapped in repetitive cycles of frustration, painful relationships, draining jobs, money that slips away, and dreams that never come true. They believe they need to change the external world when the real change starts in a place few dare to look, inside themselves. What you're about to discover will reveal the invisible mechanism behind everything that happens in your life. You'll understand why certain patterns repeat, where they come from, and most importantly, how to transform them completely. Get ready to see your reality in a way you never thought possible. The power has always been within you, waiting to be awakened. Bentov used to say that we live in a reality far vaster than what our eyes can capture. He wasn't talking about distant worlds or fanciful dimensions, but about something operating right under our noses, shaping every encounter, every opportunity, every obstacle that comes our way. That something is the vibrational field each of us carries, a unique energetic signature as distinctive as a fingerprint, yet infinitely more powerful in its effects. Think about it for a moment. You wake up, get ready, leave the house, and interact with dozens of people throughout the day. In each of those interactions, something beyond words is being exchanged. You're constantly emitting signals through your emotions, your dominant thoughts, and the way your body occupies space. These emanations aren't poetic, they're physical. Bentov explained that our nervous system functions like a frequency transmitter, and those frequencies create waves that propagate into the field around us. The fascinating part is that these waves don't just dissipate into nothingness. They meet other waves, other fields, and the outcome of those encounters determines whether you'll get that job, whether that person will draw closer or pull away, whether that opportunity will materialize or vanish. In this sense, the universe operates like a gigantic resonance system. You vibrate at a certain frequency, and life responds by bringing situations, people, and circumstances that match that same bandwidth. This has nothing to do with magical thinking or superficial beliefs about visualization. Bentov was a scientist, an inventor, someone who deeply understood the physics behind these phenomena. He knew that every cell in our body oscillates, every neuron fires electrical impulses, and every heartbeat generates a measurable electromagnetic field. We are, literally, constant energy generators in motion. And that energy isn't contained within our skin. It radiates, expands, and interacts with everything around us. The problem is that most people live completely unaware of this dynamic. They believe life just happens to them, that they're victims of circumstances, that luck or bad luck determines their fate. Bentov would say that's like thinking a radio is just a passive object receiving random stations, without realizing you control the dial. You choose the station, even if you don't realize you're doing it. Every emotion you cultivate, every thought you feed, every belief you hold is tuning that inner dial. If you spend the day dwelling on resentment, complaining about injustices, or fearing the future, you're locking onto a very specific frequency. And that frequency attracts experiences that confirm exactly what you fear. Not because the universe is cruel, but because you're sending out a clear energetic request, even unknowingly. Your vibrational field isn't something you need to create. It already exists and is operating right now. The question is, are you aware of it? Do you understand that every emotional state you choose to maintain is literally programming the kind of reality you'll experience? This awareness is the first step, And it's exactly where we need to start to understand how this invisible attraction mechanism works. Picture an old-fashioned radio with a rotating dial. You turn the knob slowly, passing through stations, and choose what you want to hear: classical music, rock, news, each on a different frequency. Your body, mind, and emotional system work exactly the same way. You're constantly tuning into frequencies while simultaneously broadcasting your own to the world. The difference is that with a regular radio, you know you're turning the dial. You consciously decide what to listen to. But with the human radio, most people don't realize they're controlling it. They think the stations just appear on their own, that they have no choice in what they receive. That's the biggest illusion keeping people stuck in repetitive patterns of suffering and frustration. Let's make this even more concrete. Imagine someone who wakes up in a bad mood, irritated by traffic, frustrated with work, anxious about bills. That person is broadcasting a specific frequency. Their body is tense, muscles contracted, breathing short and shallow. The nervous system is firing alert signals, pumping stress hormones into the bloodstream. All of this creates a dense, heavy energy field that spreads around them. Now imagine another person who wakes up grateful for another day, confident in their abilities, excited about possibilities. Their body is relaxed, breathing deep and rhythmic, nervous system balanced. They're broadcasting a completely different frequency, light, expansive, inviting. These two people, even if they work the same job, live in the same city, and have the same financial resources, will experience entirely different realities. The person on the frequency of fear and irritation will attract more situations that confirm their state. The boss will seem more demanding, coworkers more annoying, problems more insurmountable. Not because the world changed, but because they're tuned to a station that only plays that kind of programming. Their mind is filtered to notice threats, problems, difficulties, and the more they notice them, the more they reinforce the frequency that attracts them. The person on the frequency of confidence and enthusiasm will have the opposite experience. The same situations will appear as opportunities. The boss will recognize their effort, coworkers will collaborate, solutions will appear almost magically. Again, not because the world is different, but because they're tuned to a station that plays possibilities, growth, and expansion. Their mind is filtered to notice opportunities, and the more they do, the more they reinforce the frequency that attracts them. The interesting thing is that this isn't subjective. Science has already shown that our emotional state measurably alters our physiology. Joy releases endorphins and serotonin, relaxes facial muscles, opens posture, improves voice tone, and increases eye contact, all communicating safety and openness to others. Fear does the opposite. Releases cortisol and adrenaline, tightens muscles, closes posture, strains the voice, and reduces eye contact, communicating threat and closure. These nonverbal cues dramatically influence how others respond to you. People don't consciously know why they're drawn to or repelled by someone, but their bodies pick up these signals and react automatically. An interviewer might say they didn't hire you due to lack of experience, but the truth could be that your insecurity frequency triggered an unconscious alert in them. The beauty of this understanding is that it puts the power back in your hands. If you're the operator of your own inner dial, you can change stations at any time. You don't have to wait for circumstances to improve before feeling better. You can choose to feel better now, and that will start changing the circumstances. It's a complete reversal of the logic most people use, but that's exactly how the system works. Now let's see this in action in a situation everyone knows, a job interview. Two people apply for the same position. They have similar education, comparable experience, and equivalent resumes. On paper, they're practically identical, but one gets the job and the other doesn't. What made the difference? The answer lies in the frequency each emitted during those crucial minutes of interaction. The first person enters the room carrying their entire history of doubts and fears. They question whether they're good enough, whether they deserve the opportunity, whether they'll answer questions well. That inner questioning doesn't stay locked in their mind. It leaks out through every pore. Their voice comes out hesitant, hands tremble slightly, eyes dart away frequently, body shrinks in the chair. Unknowingly, they're broadcasting a clear message. I'm not sure I'm right for this. The interviewer, most of the time, isn't consciously aware of what they're picking up. They don't think, this person is insecure. But their body registers all these signals. Their primitive brain, the ancient part evolved to detect threats and opportunities, processes every micro-expression, every vocal tone shift, every body movement. It all creates a gut feeling they'll later rationalize as, I didn't feel they'd fit well on the team, or something was missing that I can't explain. The second person enters the same room with a completely different frequency. They might feel nervous too. Nerves are natural. But beneath the surface nervousness, they carry a deep certainty about their worth. They know they have ability, that they can learn what they don't know, that they deserve to be there. This certainty doesn't have to be arrogant or over the top. It can be quiet and solid like a rock. That certainty translates into completely opposite signals. The voice is steady even if it wavers a bit. Eyes maintain contact even if they blink more. Body occupies space naturally even if hands are still a little tense. They're broadcasting a different message. I can contribute here. I have value. I deserve this opportunity. And the interviewer picks that up too, not consciously, but viscerally. The fascinating part is that this dynamic creates what we call a self-fulfilling prophecy. The insecure person, by emitting insecurity signals, receives confirmation of their insecurity. They don't get the job, reinforcing their belief they're not good enough. In the next interview, they enter even more insecure, emit stronger doubt signals, and get another rejection. The cycle perpetuates itself, and they can spend years thinking the problem is lack of skill, bad luck, or market unfairness. The confident person experiences the opposite cycle. They get the job because they transmitted confidence, reinforcing their belief in their value. In the next opportunity, they enter even more confident, emit clearer certainty signals, and receive another confirmation. The cycle also perpetuates, but upward. They can spend years thinking they're just lucky or more skilled than others. The truth is both are creating their realities through the frequencies they emit. Neither sees the real mechanism at work. The insecure one sees themselves as a victim. The confident one sees themselves as lucky or talented. But what's really happening is far more interesting and far more empowering than either realizes. This same principle applies to everything. Romantic relationships, friendships, business, health. The inner state you carry determines the signals you emit, and those signals influence how the world responds to you. It's not magic, it's mechanics. It's not luck, it's frequency. It's not fate, it's choice. And the choice begins long before you walk into the interview room or start any important interaction. The choice begins the moment you become aware of the frequency you're emitting right now, in this instant. Are you tuned to fear or confidence? Scarcity or abundance? Doubt or certainty? And most importantly, do you know you can change the station whenever you want? But to make that change consciously, you first need to understand where these automatic patterns come from, patterns you repeat without even realizing it. We've reached a crucial point. You now understand that you're emitting frequencies all the time and that those frequencies attract matching experiences. You've seen how it works in real situations like a job interview. But now comes the most important question. How do you discover exactly what frequency you're emitting? How do you identify the invisible patterns running in the background of your mind, creating the same results over and over? The answer lies in a process that seems too simple to be powerful, but is actually revolutionary: self-observation. Not superficial self-observation, like noticing you're sad or happy in a given moment. We're talking about something much deeper, a honest, courageous investigation into the fears, beliefs, and dissatisfactions you carry, often without realizing they're there. Here's a practical exercise that reveals surprising things. Take a piece of paper and write down, without filtering or judging, all your current dissatisfactions. Anything goes. Relationships that don't work, money that doesn't come in, health that doesn't improve, recognition that doesn't arrive, opportunities that don't appear. Then, next to each dissatisfaction, write the associated fear. Fear of not being loved, fear of not being capable, fear of not having enough, fear of not being recognized, fear of being alone. What you'll discover doing this is both frightening and liberating. You'll realize your fears aren't random, they form patterns. The same themes appear again and again across different areas of your life, wearing different clothes but carrying the same essence. Fear of abandonment might show up in relationships, fear of scarcity in finances, fear of inadequacy at work. But when you look deeper, you see it's all the same frequency vibrating in different contexts. These patterns didn't start yesterday. They're deep, ancient, often inherited. This brings us to a fascinating concept developed by Carl Jung, the collective unconscious. Jung realized that beyond the personal unconscious, containing your individual experiences, there's a much deeper layer shared by all humanity. In that layer reside memories, experiences, and patterns lived by countless generations before you. Think about it. Your ancestors faced famine, wars, diseases, betrayals, terrible losses. They also experienced love, courage, overcoming, extraordinary victories. All those experiences were etched into a collective memory you inherited. You don't need to have gone hungry to fear scarcity. You don't need to have been betrayed to fear trust. Those fears are already there, waiting to be activated by your life's circumstances. The problem is most people live these patterns completely unconsciously. They feel the fear, act from the fear, attract situations that confirm the fear, but never stop to question where it really comes from. They think it's just theirs, that it's the circumstances' fault, that life is just hard. But the truth is they're running ancient scripts, repeating dynamics humanity has repeated for millennia. Self-observation breaks that autopilot. It brings awareness to what was unconscious. It shines light on patterns operating in the shadows, and that awareness alone begins to dissolve their power over you. Because you can't change what you don't see. You can't choose differently if you don't even realize you're choosing. But identifying patterns is just the first step. The next is understanding that these patterns aren't random flaws or personal weaknesses. They're actually expressions of something much larger, what depth psychology calls archetype. And that's where things get really interesting. Archetypes aren't just abstract psychological concepts. They're living forces, energy patterns that exist independently of any individual but express themselves through people. Think of them as invisible molds, energetic structures sculpted over millennia of human experience. Every time someone intensely lived a particular role in life, that role was etched into the collective unconscious, creating a pattern others can access and manifest. Depth psychology has identified about 22 main archetypes. The hero, the mother, the wise one, the healer, the leader, the creator, the rebel, the lover. Each represents not just a social role but a specific vibrational frequency, a particular way of being in the world, processing experiences, and interacting with reality. And here's the key point. You don't consciously choose which archetype to live. Most of the time, the archetype chooses you, or rather, you're drawn to it by your life circumstances, the wounds you carry, the gifts you possess. What makes archetypes even more fascinating is that each has two fundamental aspects, the light and the shadow. The light aspect represents the elevated qualities of that pattern, the virtues, gifts, positive potentials. The shadow aspect represents the distortions, excesses, imbalances of the same pattern. And every human living an archetype is constantly navigating between light and shadow, sometimes expressing one, sometimes the other. Consider the hero archetype. In its light aspect, the hero is courageous, determined, able to face any challenge to protect what they love, achieve goals, and make a difference in the world. They inspire others, overcome impossible obstacles, turn desperate situations into victories. But in the shadow, that same hero can become addicted to conflict, unable to relax, always seeking the next dragon to slay, neglecting loved ones in pursuit of external conquests, burning out completely. Or consider the wise one. In the light, they're a source of profound knowledge, wise guidance, understanding life's complexities. They help others find clarity, see patterns where others see chaos, bring peace through perspective. But in the shadow, the wise one can become arrogant, detached, trapped in an ivory tower of intellect, unable to connect emotionally, using knowledge as a tool for superiority rather than service. Every archetype carries this duality. The healer can be compassionate and transformative in the light, but smothering and codependent in the shadow. The leader can be inspiring and visionary in the light, but authoritarian and manipulative in the shadow. The creator can be innovative and expressive in the light, but perfectionistic and blocked in the shadow. And so on across all 22 main patterns. Now connect this to what we said about frequencies and attraction. If you're living the shadow aspect of an archetype, you're emitting a specific frequency that attracts corresponding situations. A shadow hero attracts constant conflicts because they need them to feel purpose. A shadow-wise one attracts isolation because they keep everyone at arm's length with intellectualization. A shadow healer attracts energy-draining dependence because they need to feel needed to feel valuable. On the other hand, living the light aspect emits a completely different frequency. A light hero attracts genuine growth opportunities, challenges that strengthen without destroying. A light-wise one attracts people hungry for real wisdom, situations where their insight can flourish and serve. A light healer attracts those ready for true transformation, not just someone to fix their problems. The question is, which aspect of your archetype are you living right now? And more importantly, do you even know what your dominant archetype is? Because without that knowledge, you're navigating in the dark, living patterns without understanding why certain themes repeat so consistently in your life. Let's explore one of the most powerful and universal archetypes to see how this works in practice, the mother archetype. We all know the power of this pattern, whether from having present or absent mothers, or from moments when we've needed to care for someone, nurture a project, or gestate an idea. The mother isn't limited to women with children. It's an energy, a way of relating to the world that can manifest in anyone. In its light aspect, the mother is pure unconditional love. She welcomes without judgment, nurtures without expecting anything in return, provides emotional safety so others can grow and develop. She feels deep empathy, puts herself in others' shoes, senses needs before they're even spoken. This energy creates environments where people flourish, creativity emerges, and vulnerability is safe. The light mother is generous with her time, attention, and affection. She gives because giving is her nature, not because she expects reciprocation. This frequency attracts healthy relationships based on mutual respect and genuine reciprocity. It draws people who value the care they receive and know how to give back. It attracts situations where generosity is recognized and appreciated, where giving and receiving flow naturally. The light mother creates virtuous circles of affection and growth around her, and her life reflects emotional abundance, deep connections, and purpose through service to others. But watch what happens in the shadow. That same caring energy can turn into suffocating overprotection. The shadow mother doesn't let others grow because she needs them to remain dependent. She cares, but in a way that keeps the other small, weak, incapable. Her love becomes a gilded cage, offering everything except freedom. And she does this not out of malice, but because her entire identity is tied to being indispensable. In the shadow, the mother also manipulates through guilt. She gives, but makes sure everyone knows how much she gave, how much she sacrificed, how much she suffered. Every act of care comes with an invisible emotional invoice. She creates effective debts that can never be fully repaid, because the more the other tries to reciprocate, the more she gives, always keeping the balance in her favor. This guarantees control, constant attention, a distorted way of feeling love. This shadow frequency attracts entirely different dynamic. It draws immature people who want to be cared for without growing, seeking a substitute mother rather than a partner. It attracts codependent relationships where love is always conditioned on need. It attracts children who never leave home, friends who only show up to ask favors, partners who exploit her availability without reciprocating. And the shadow mother, even while suffering from it, perpetuates the cycle because deep down, that's exactly what she needs to maintain her sense of identity. Do you see the difference? Same energy, opposite frequencies, completely different outcomes. One attracts freedom and mutual growth. The other attracts imprisonment and stagnation. And the shift from light to shadow can be subtle, almost imperceptible. You might start genuinely caring for someone and, without noticing, slide into overprotection. You might start being generous and gradually begin emotionally charging for what you give. The same applies to all other archetypes. Each has its specific traps, blind spots, tendencies toward imbalance. And these imbalances aren't moral failures. They're just energetic patterns that need to be recognized and adjusted. But how do you make that adjustment? How do you transform shadow into light? Working with the shadow isn't about eliminating parts of yourself. It's not about becoming perfect or reaching a state where only light exists. That would be not only impossible but dangerous, as it would deny half your nature. The goal is conscious integration, recognizing both light and shadow within you and choosing, moment by moment, which aspect you'll feed, which frequency you'll emit. Let's get practical. How do you effectively work with the shadow? The first step is to stop pretending it doesn't exist. Every time you feel anger, envy, fear, insecurity, excessive control, or manipulation, those are signs a shadow aspect is active. Most people, upon noticing these emotions, do one of two things. Either completely deny them, sweeping everything under the psychological rug, or fully identify with the emotion, letting it take complete control. Neither strategy works. Denying the shadow only makes it grow stronger underground, eventually erupting in destructive ways. Fully identifying with it means losing any ability to choose, becoming a puppet of your unconscious patterns. The middle path is to observe the shadow without judgment, acknowledge its presence, understand where it comes from, but not let it drive your actions. Think of the shadow as a scared child inside you. It acts out because it's trying to protect you from some ancient pain, some deep fear. The shadow mother who controls and manipulates is, at bottom, terrified of abandonment and rejection. The shadow hero who seeks constant conflict is fleeing feelings of inadequacy and powerlessness. The shadow-wise one who isolates in their ivory tower is afraid of intimacy and emotional vulnerability. You work with the shadow not by fighting it, but by bringing compassion to it. You recognize the fear behind the destructive behavior and offer genuine safety to that part of you. You say, "I see you, I understand why you act this way, but now I'm going to choose a different way to handle this fear." It's not repression, it's conscious transformation. At the same time, you actively strengthen the light aspects of your archetype. If you live the mother archetype, you practice caring without controlling, giving without expecting payment, nurturing while allowing freedom. If you live the hero, you seek challenges that truly matter, not empty conflicts, and learn to rest without losing purpose. If you live the wise one, you share knowledge with humility, connect intellect with emotion, and come down from the tower to serve. The impact of this inner alchemy is immense and multidimensional. First, your relationships change dramatically. People respond to your new frequency in surprising ways. Toxic relationships naturally dissolve, not because you force them to end, but because you no longer vibrate at the frequency that sustained them. Healthy relationships deepen, becoming more authentic, reciprocal, and nourishing. Second, your prosperity improves. We're not just talking money, though that can happen too. We're talking integral prosperity. Opportunities that appear, doors that open, synchronicities that multiply. Life begins to flow with less resistance because you're aligned with your light essence, emitting a clear and powerful frequency. Third, your health transforms. The body responds directly to emotional state. Living in shadow, patterns of fear, anger, resentment, guilt, creates chronic nervous system tension, hormonal imbalances, systemic inflammation. Working the shadow and strengthening the light releases those tensions, restores balance, allows the body to function as it was designed. And fourth, your spirituality deepens. You realize you're not alone on this journey, that you're connected to something greater, part of a universal intelligence always conspiring in your favor. This realization doesn't come from externally imposed beliefs, but from direct experience, feeling in your own skin how reality responds to your inner changes. Now you know the truth. Your energy creates your reality. Every frequency you emit shapes the results you receive. The question that remains is, what will you do with this knowledge? Will you keep living on autopilot, repeating the same patterns, attracting the same frustrations? Or will you have the courage to look within, recognize your archetypes, work your shadow, and strengthen your light? What frequency are you emitting right now? Fear or confidence? Scarcity or abundance? Victim or creator? Answer in the comments. Which repetitive pattern are you ready to transform starting today? If this content resonated with you, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. We have so much more to explore about consciousness, energy, and personal transformation. Your journey of self-discovery is just beginning. The power is in your hands. Use it.